So we got a little time here before we finish off. So I want, somebody asked a question about Sandy. I'd be happy to answer that. The question was, how did Sandy come up with the Meisner technique? How did it evolve? What was the evolution? Did he just start off this way and that's the way it was? And the answer is no. It absolutely matured. Sandy taught for over 60 years, over half a century at the neighborhood playhouse alone, and for another almost 10 years out in Los Angeles. And during that evolution, during that 50, 60-year process, he was evolving his way. Initially, Sandy said, I taught what I was taught. What else could I do, right? That's what he did. And coming out of the group theater, it was very heavily influenced by Stanislavski and the quote-unquote the method. And Sandy early on, as well as a lot of the members of the group, found a problem, some problems with the method, and particularly the way that Lee was disseminating the information. And there became a revolt within the group within a very short time. And as we've talked about before, eventually Lee Strasberg quits the group and dedicates his life to teaching his interpretation of the method. And again, Lee Strasberg and Stella Adler and Sanford Meisner and all the great, great teachers, they all wanted the same exact thing from their students. They did. They wanted their students, their graduates of the work, to work and to do good work. What's good work? Believable work. Yeah? And the Meisner technique, Sanford Meisner does not have the corner of the market on good acting. But it is one hell of a foundation. It is. Now, how did it evolve? Well, again, Sandy at first started to teach the way he was taught. But he saw an inherent problem, not only in his students' work, but as he said, in looking back, in my own work and in our work within the group. Although we produced a lot of wonderful things, there was always something not quite right. And what he believed the problem was, the number one problem is that most people in life are horrible, horrible listeners. We just are. We can't even remember people's names when we're introduced at a barbecue. Forget, that's a barbecue in a backyard. Now put people on stage, right? With all, the pressure, the stress, the intensity, the excitement, right? And poor listening is now non-existent. We are so focused on ourselves. As Sandy once said about the method, he says, one of the problems I find with the method is it introverts the introverted. Meaning actors are already so focused on themselves, they're insecure, they've got this harem in their head going on throughout the work. And so Sandy took a step back and said, okay, nothing believable or interesting is ever going to happen between two actors until I can get them present. Nothing. Nothing believable can happen until we get two actors present. Now, how do I do that? And that's how he set about creating a series of exercises that eventually morphed into this foundation exercise called the repetition exercise. The repetition exercise is simply a means to an end. Too many people have unfortunately misinterpreted it to be this holy grail, if you will. The repetition is a means to an end. In fact, I'll tell you something. Sandy grew he just grew very frustrated that the repetition was so synonymous with the Meisner technique. So many people out there, they've taken a class, they took some Meisner in college or at a workshop or through a teacher who taught a bunch of different things, and people think that's what the Meisner technique is this repetition exercise. The repetition exercise is it's the foundation exercise for the first month or so, as you're all experiencing right now. Now, of course, it's with us from the entire time, but it's what it evolves into and morphs into that's critical. It is supposed to actually become literally transparent, a means to an end. It should dissolve away in terms of the rigidity of the exercise. And in turn, create such a foundation of listening, of being wide open, of putting our focus on the most important thing, the other person, the other actor. And then Sandy said, once I've got that foundation in place, then I can teach you how to act. Because I can tell you, you're just early in the training right now. This is what you're in. You're in the repetition exercise. Trust me, this is the first session. We have another year and a half of this evolution. And once this foundation is in place, then we can truly begin to teach you how to act.